Hey everyone, Wiley Beckert here. In this video, I'm going to be talking a little bit about my toned paper sketch process, and I'm going to be showing you how I created this little piece for my original art giveaway on Patreon. For my toned paper drawings, I'm almost always using Canson pastel paper. This paper has two sides, a rough side and a smooth side. I'm going to be using the smooth side here, and I'm starting my drawing with a rough sketch in Tuscan Red Color Ace pencil. I've basically got everything laid out pretty much where I want it. I have a rough idea of the value structure I'm aiming for, so pretty much what you're going to be seeing is just how I work that rough sketch up into a final drawing. Normally I'd be building up the shadows first, and then adding really small touches of white charcoal for the highlights, but in this case the character's face is meant to be glowing, so instead I'm working in white charcoal and basically just leaving the gray of the paper to stand in for those shadows. I'm really only switching back to the red color ace pencil for a few small details like the eyes where I want a little bit more emphasis, and everything else is going to stay pretty soft. I'm even using a blending stump here and there in this, just where the texture of the white charcoal is getting a little too rough. You'll notice that there's a lot of back and forth working and reworking of the face to get it just right. Since faces are such a major focal point in any image, it's always worth spending a little bit of extra time on them. I always really hate seeing a great drawing with a kind of a half-assed face, so I'm always trying to avoid that myself. Once I've got the face figured out and those lightest areas established, I'm switching over to a black color ace pencil to start building up the very darkest areas. And I'm using a really light hand at this stage, just because it's really easy to flatten out the tooth of the paper, which will make it a lot harder to build up the pigment later on. I have a tendency to rely a little too much on line art in my drawings, so I'm kind of making an effort to lose some of the edges in this piece, especially in those sort of shadowy, dark on dark areas where you wouldn't really expect to see a ton of clarity in real life. Once I have both the darkest and lightest values established, that gives me a baseline to start figuring out the rest of the image. You're mostly going to be seeing me working with the red color ace pencil, since this gives me a sort of halfway point between the white and black pencils. It's only a little bit darker than the tone of the paper itself, so it gives me some room for a range of midtones, but without getting too close to those stronger darks that I've built up in the background. I am still using black and white in the image as a whole. I'm just being a little bit more restrained with it than I was around the focal point. You can see that I've added this area of lighter value towards the bottom of the piece, just to kind of balance out that brighter face up top. But since I don't have any stronger dark tones in the surrounding areas, that light value isn't going to compete with the face the way it would if I stuck it right next to a dark area. I'm just fancying up the border here. Not a necessary step, but I found that when I start to stall out on a piece towards the end, switching focus like this really helps give me fresh eyes and lets me see if the image is missing something. In this case, I realized that my dark values were a little bit on the weak side. I'm just doing a final pass here with the black color erase to really push the contrast. And I'm also using the opportunity to work in some fine details, stuff like those little hatching lines, just to add a little bit more interest to the piece. And with that, the drawing is finished. If you enjoyed this video, you can find more tutorial content on Patreon at patreon.com/WileyBeckert, and your support does help keep the videos coming, so thank you so much.